Brother Svarag glared out at the frozen waste before him. On the far side he could make out the warm summer colors of the followers of Sunna. Too long had they oppressed their northern brothers. Too long they had stolen sacred soil of Vulknur. Now they would pay in blood. Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Obsidian Anubis, and I'm back with another 9th Age battle report. And this is a Empire Civil War between Vulknur's Might, which is a northern god of the wilderness, strength, and nature, versus Sunna herself, or Sunna's followers, rather. This is a 4,500 point battle, and we decided to do an Empire Civil War using the old 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy Civil War rules, which I will show again in just a few minutes. But yeah, let's go ahead and look into the armies. Before that, though, I want to do a quick side note. So before this game, I had some Obsidian Anubis dice made up, as you can see here. So I made some nice dice for the channel, which matching the logo. So anyways, yes, back to the armies. So Vulknur's Might. For the infantry, I have 50 halberdiers with full command and the war banner. Next to them is a block of 40 Imperial Guard with full command. Next to them, the wolves are proxying 5 readers. And in front of them, I have 5 knights with great weapons. In front of them, I have 25, 25 flagellants with a champion. In front of them, I have 10 militia with bows. And then on the hill, I have a second unit of 5 knights and a mortar. And then for characters, I took 4 characters. So the one with the banner on the hill is my BSB. He has the Hammer of the Witch and a dragon helm. The middle character is a prelate with a great weapon. He has blessed armor and the talisman of shielding. Then the character on the right, that is my excuse me. That is my general. He is a prelate. He is the hero's sword, the black helm, and the sprout of rebirth. And then also on the hill, I have a wizard master of divination. He has 2 extra learned spells, so a total of 3 spells. He has the talisman of greater shielding, and he is on the arcane shield wagon. And then for Sunna's Fury, they have 2 units of 5 light cavalry, 2 units of 5 readers, both on the left and the right of the hill. On the hill, there's a block of 20 light infantry, as well as 2 volley guns and a mortar. To the left of the hill is 10 militia with bows, and then 2 blocks of 49 halberdiers. And the one with the gray banner also has the war banner. For characters, my opponent also took a prelate as his general, so that's a prelate on war altar there. Next to them is a marshal on foot. He has the fencer sword and the glittering scales. And then 2 artificers with the guns. Excuse me. They're both naked other than that. And then finally on the far right is the marshal with the BSB. He has the winter's cloak and a halberd. So for deployment, I believe we went back and forth for deployment. It was the scenario where you can only place 1 unit at a time and you have to place counter thrust, is that what it's called? Where you have to place 18 inches apart from each other. So over here on my opponent's far right, you can see my opponent's right flank. The center, this is the left flank. And then in the center, you can see the rest of the troops, as well as my cat, who decided to show us his lovely behind for the picture. And then for my deployment, on my left, I have 2 units of knights, kind of opposite of the hill where my opponent has his artillery. My militia, my mortar, and then in the center of the board, I have my 2 big blocks, both around the arcane engine to get that +1, or to get distracting and hard target. And then over here on the far right, I have my flagellants and the readers. So as I said, this is a Civil War battle. So we rolled up on the Civil War chart of Warhammer Fantasy, and we got a number 6, which is a border dispute. So the special rule that goes with this is if you enter your opponent's deployment zone, you gain frenzy, but your opponent gains hatred against all units which are in the deployment zone. So it's basically if you are in your enemy's deployment zone, you're frenzied, and they gain hatred. Which worked out well in my favor, as my opponent had a very shooty list, so I had to march towards them. So that gave me the frenzy, and my opponent, while they got hatred because of that, they also had a prelate on a war altar that gave them hatred anyways, so it was actually about the same. So my opponent ended up rolling and getting to go first, so Sunna's Fury, turn 1. So over on here on the left flank, my opponent did not move. And then over here on the right flank, you can see my opponent moved up the 2 units of readers. One to start shooting at my readers, the other to start shooting at my halberdiers. And then in shooting phase, actually this is still movement, which basically showed my opponent did not move. In shooting phase, my opponent's readers killed 3 of mine. However, luckily I did pass my panic test. Then we went to the rest of the shooting, and between the second unit of readers, both volley guns, and the mortar, my big block of halberdiers, I had 50 halberdiers to begin with. By the end of shooting, there were 30 halberdiers, so I had lost 20. And then I consecutively failed to pass 2 leadership tests, so I fled, and I rolled an 11 and fled right off the board. So that took my big block of halberdiers, along with one of my prelates, off and out of the battle. So that definitely hurt. And unfortunately, my opponent wasn't done. The second volley gun shot at one of my unit of knights and obliterated them, which then caused a panic test on my militia because I put them too close, and they fled off the board. So I'm down 3 units, and it isn't even my turn. This is going to go really well. So here is a overall picture of my opponent's of the end of my opponent's first turn, and yeah, you can see I'm definitely missing some figures now. So that brings us to Vulknur's Might, turn 1. Alright, so I declared a charge with my flagellants into the 1 block of readers and moved my other 2 readers up to hopefully start taking pot shots at one of the volley guns. In the center of the board, I moved up, as you can see here. In Magic Phase, I managed to get 8 power dice, which, unfortunately, I didn't have cards made up at the time and don't remember what spell I got off. I think I excuse me. I think I cast Fate's Judgment on the unit of readers that were not in combat and killed 2 of them. In close combat, my flagellants easily wiped out the readers and chased them down and caught them. And yeah, so it looks like I killed 1 of my opponent's second unit of readers with the Magic Phase. So that brings us to Sunna's Fury, turn 2. Alright, so my opponent moved their readers behind my readers to get rid of them. And then other than that, my opponent did not really move. This picture is actually taken after shooting. You can see that my opponent's readers managed to kill 1 of my readers, which I then failed a panic test, and then I'm now fleeing across the board, heading straight to my opponent's deployment zone. My greatswords, or Imperial Guard, have lost 10 of their number, it looks like. Luckily, they are within range of my shielding, so they do get distracting, but they still lost a 1/4 of their number in 1 turn. So if I don't get in combat quickly, this game will probably be over before it begins. So that brings us to Vulknur's turn 2. So in movement, I declared a charge with my 1 unit of knights that had not been blown off the board into the mortar, and then moved up my Imperial Guard and altar, as you can see here. I just rotated my flagellants around so that they could see the rear of the halberdiers or the rear of the readers. In Magic Phase, I managed to get 9 power dice, which, again, without the cards, I don't remember exactly what I got off. I think I got off the Stars Align and reroll and +2 initiative, +2 weapon skill on the knights. You can see I have my beads that I'm marking. So the yellow bead is the guiding light. So that's what I get every time I cast a spell. And then the 2 blue ones are 2 different spells. So I think I got off the Stars Align and Look West. I ended up killing the mortar in close combat and then overrunning into the engineer, which you can just see there on the front left of this picture. So that brings us to Sunna's Fury, turn 3. Alright, so in my opponent's turn, they quickly marched their block of halberdiers on top of the hill. I think they wanted to start swinging around and maybe get a flank on my Imperial Guard later in the game. And the readers moved around to take some shots at my flagellants. However, I think my opponent made a mistake here. Because the way they positioned their readers, I could charge the readers with my flagellants and then easily have a flank charge overrun into the halberdiers. So I don't think my opponent saw that right away, but I think that's definitely something that they made a mistake about. In shooting, or maybe this is just the rest of my opponent's movement, you can see the militia moved up a little bit to get in range of shooting. In Magic Phase, my opponent got 6 power dice, and honestly, I think they cast the 5-up ward save in close combat, but it was a bubble. I wasn't going to get in combat, so it didn't matter. And then in shooting, between the two volley guns, oh, excuse me, between the volley gun, yeah, between the two volley guns and the group of 20 light militia, I lost another 16 or so Imperial Guard. So I have, looks like 13 or 12 Imperial Guard because I have two characters in that unit. So yeah, I'm definitely losing my troops really fast. In close combat, I did manage to kill the engineer and overran to where you can see I am now. You can also see my one remaining reader, the wolf, fled through my opponent's block of halberdiers and did manage to pass its dangerous terrain test, but is still running. So that brings us to Vulknur's Might, turn 3. So I finally got a charge off, which I was hoping for. So I charged my Imperial Guard into the light infantry. They stand and shot, and luckily I think they did not do a single wound. So that was helpful. I also turned around my knights with great weapons, and my one lone reader actually rallied this turn. I also charged my flagellants into my opponent's group of readers on the hill. So in Magic Phase, I managed to get 9 power dice, both of which I threw the reroll to wound. I don't remember if it was from the altar or the blessing on the Imperial Guard, but either way I got it off. And then I also got it off the 5-up ward save, which is the second bead. In close combat, I killed 10 of my opponent's militia. They broke and I chased and ran them down and managed to overrun into my opponent's halberdiers. So that was helpful. And then over here on the right, between the shooting last turn and this turn, in close combat, you can see that I only have 10 flagellants left, but they did kill the readers out to a man, and then being frenzied, I had to overrun, of course, which I wanted to do anyways, and overran into my opponent's flank. So this brings us to Sunna's Fury, turn 3. Alright, so this is what it looks like at the beginning of my opponent's turn. In Magic Phase, my opponent managed to get 3 power dice, from which I think they threw all 3 at the 5-up board save. No, they threw all 3 at the reroll to wound on the halberdiers engaged with my Imperial Guard, and my opponent rolled really badly, and I managed to dispel it with my 2 dice. So no magic, yay! This picture is showing the lack of my the lack of my knights with great weapons. They were behind the halberdiers next to that orange bead, where they were going to charge maybe on my next turn, but the volley gun on the hill blew them away, and it destroyed them. They didn't flee, they just died. In close combat over here, I managed to kill about 5 or 6 halberdiers, so pretty good. I lost 2 of my flagellants in return, so not really bad. I was lucky that my opponent only had 3 guys plus his character in combat, so I didn't really lose very many. However, my opponent did manage to pass their leadership test and reformed, so next turn I'm going to be facing a much more fierce halberdier assault. In close combat over here with the halberdiers, yeah, I put off a rank, so I killed, 10 guys or so. However, I also lost all of my Imperial Guard, so I only have my 2 characters left. So that's not going well for me. However, I did manage to pass my leadership test because I rolled 2 1s. So I know Snake Eyes doesn't mean you automatically win. I think I actually needed a 3, but I rolled a 2. So I'll take it. So that brings us to Vulknur turn 4. So I only had, excuse me, 1 charge to declare. So I declared a charge with my chariot into the militia, positioning it so that if it overruns, it'll overrun into the volley gun. In Magic Phase, I managed to get 10 power dice, so that's pretty good. However, I didn't take a picture of the what spells I took, but I think I either got the Stars Align off, and I think the 5-up ward save on the 2 characters. In close combat over here, my flagellants killed off, I think, another 5 or 6 halberdiers. However, facing that many, and my opponent also did the order where they got the extra rank. Yeah, they easily wiped out the rest of my flagellants. In close combat over here on the left, my chariot easily wiped out or killed, I think, 6 of the militia and overran into the the volley gun. And then close combat over here, I actually did fairly well. I only killed 3 halberdiers, but I only took 1 wound on my general. I think I lost combat, but this one was a relatively easy one to pass. Plus I had a reroll because I had a BSB. So that brings us to turn 5. However, at this point, there was really nothing more I could do. I mean, my two characters were eventually going to break, and my opponent was easily going to run them down. My chariot was probably going to destroy the volley gun, and then just overrun and just run off somewhere where my opponent couldn't shoot it or kill it. So really, at this point, the game was over. So I threw in the towel and conceded defeat to my opponent. So this was a Sunna's Fury victory, which, I guess makes sense. Sunna is a much more prevalent goddess than Vulknur. Only a few people know of him, so Sunna's Fury definitely won the day on this one. I think what really hurt me in this game was that first turn of shooting. Losing one block of halberdiers, or losing my only block of halberdiers, so basically half my infantry, losing one of my unit of knights, and I didn't think about it when I placed my units, so I put my militia too close, and so of course when one of them broke, I had to make a panic test, and they failed that, so then I lost my militia at the same time. So losing half my army on the first turn really, made it hard for me to get anywhere in this game. And I tried my best. I tried to march as fast as I could, but excuse me, I really couldn't make up that loss. My opponent did a great game. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. My opponent really enjoyed it. This is the first time they've beaten me in a couple weeks, or a couple months actually. So they were really happy. And they didn't just beat me. I mean, they crushed me. We did tally up the points, and it was a 19-1 in my opponent's favor. They won the secondary objective, which was breakthrough, by the way. So yeah, my opponent definitely earned a well-earned victory in this game. And yeah, it was fun. I mean, I definitely think I need to improve, and I think I'm probably going to definitely try out this list a few more times before I throw in the towel completely on the list. But as a general, I shouldn't blame the army. I should blame the general. So I'll blame myself that I should have positioned my troops better so they didn't get wiped out on the first turn. But yeah, that's all I have for this. If you guys saw any mistakes or would like to see anything or want to make any comments or questions, go for it. Put them in the comment section below. As always, if you guys could hit like and subscribe, that'd be really appreciated. And as always, game on.